is Gabby G working with you to make easy bake textures. If you guys don't know the reference to Julia Childs, you should. So we're just going to go through the steps at how to bake textures. And in this case, we're going to go through our own specific route and how we're going to make these textures in our servers. Thanks again for helping me, and I hope you're going to have fun rendering out these guys. We're just first going to go into the Special Projects folder under Bora's VR Classroom and the Amphitheater Low Poly LXO file. Once we have that open, we might be set up into another tab than the one that we desire. So we're going to just see what we have here. We have the chair, and we're just going to go on the right-hand side to the item list, seeing what items that need to be rendered. Along with that, we're going to also open up the baking sheet that is also in the Special Projects folder. This is going to keep track of all the textures and normal maps that each of you are going to go over. As seen right here, you see 2 columns along with the third one you don't have to worry about. A UV texture name that is classified in the program along with the sizes. I want you guys to, for every rendered texture that's rendered, mark them down. All right, so we're going to go back to Modo, and we have to switch this over to something called UV mapping. To do that, we're going to hold down Control, the little accent thing. Once you have that, there should be like a circle of different interfaces popping up, and you're going to use your mouse and click on UV. Once you have that, it might take a while to switch over. You're going to change the settings, and you can find that on the top right, where you might see a little gear. It's next to a magnifying glass. There, you're going to go to one of those tabs called Drawing and Controls. From there, you're going to go down to Trackball Rotation, as indicated right there, and change it to No. This actually helps with navigating through the 3D space. Go to the items list. Right here, you're going to hit 5 on the keyboard, and that allows you to select the item. In 3D, there's multiple types of selecting, and if you hit 5, that's for items. So you can either click on the objects or go on the items list, find the item down there, and then hit it, and it should light up yellow. At the bottom of the items list, you will see 3 tabs or maybe something else, but in the UV UI, you're going to see something called Channels, Lists, Item Properties. We want to be on List, and in List, you're going to see something called UV Maps. Luckily enough, you guys don't have to organize it. I already done that already. So everything's labeled. So once you open up that file in the little triangle guy, there should be a UV map that's indicated by the object's name. And right here, you see like a flat, from what I call it, a roadkill version, which is a 2D version of the 3D object laid out on this gray grid. From that, we're going to go to the shading tab that is next to the items list. You're going to see that on the top right corner. And at this point, you want to switch over from 5, which was the item selection, to 4, which is the material selections. And like I said before, there's multiple types of selections. In this case, we're going to select the textures that are assigned to each of these objects. And in this case, you might see that there's multiple folders or layers for this particular item for share. Don't worry, you only need to select one of these, and if you do, just make sure that you use the same folder for both the normal map and the texture map. So we're going to go to the top of the shader tree and go to Add Layer, Image, Map. Create a new image. Once you hit the image, a window should come up. And this could change depending on like where you're saving the file, so just to make sure, we are saving this in the Special Projects folder in Bora's class. And there is a specific folder called Textures. Please remember to save the textures in the texture folder. Once the pop-up comes after you selected a name, and also clarify what type of texture map you are working on, whether it is a texture map or if it's a normal map. So once you have the resolution to 1024 by 1024, we're just gonna hit OK. So in the corner, we see a brown little circle in our material layer inside the shading tab. And in there we have something called chairs texture map, which is the thing that we typed beforehand, which is a target file. So that's the thing that we're going to render everything into, the file that's going to have the texture map in there. So at this point, you want to make sure that you have all things selected. The item, the new image that you created, and the UV map that's in the list tab. Once we have all those things selected, we're going to go through the process of creating a texture map. And for that, you're going to make sure all those are selected, as I said before. So you're going to go to the top where render is, and then you're going to go to bake to render outputs. So once that happens, another window should pop up, and that is the render screen. At this point, you are currently rendering, and it may take us like 1 to even 20 minutes per render. So once you have that down, you can go over to your Excel sheet, mark down the render map that you created. So either if it's a texture map, normal map, or an occlusion map. Occlusion map you don't really need. It's more so to calculate lighting for geometry, but in this case we're not going to really use it. So once you have that down, please make sure to exit out, or you're going to make other people render out extra. Alright, so once we open up, we're done rendering that image, we're going to double check what it looks like. So once we see this, we know that we did a texture map. As for if we see something that looks pastel with rainbow colors, indicated right here, which isn't the same object, but more so an example of what a normal map looks like. You can see a gradient of pastel colors, actually calculates light as well, but not in the way of texture. So if you see this, you accidentally made a normal map. And if you do, I would either rename the file or redo the process. Because if you rename things and it gets, you X'd out stuff in like the Excel sheet and everything, gets a little confusing. So just keep an eye on what you do, double check what you rendered. These computers are rendering out heavy things, and we don't want them to die. So just make sure that you're rendering what you need to render. And thanks again for listening and helping me in learning how to bake.